I got a nice recap for this one. Four gamer, some wild, wild games.
Do you want the countdown?
Give me the countdown.
All right. Three, two, one.
Like my sunscreen on a vacation, the Yankees get a second chance to beat the Rays as Tampa comes in for a tense four gamer. But game one was not quite how anyone drew it up as Rasmussen goes seven shutty but hits the 60-day IL right after the game. Yankees get two hits through eight innings and tack on two in the ninth. Boring as the Yankees host Star Wars Day on a Jedi Friday night in the Bronx with an electric crowd, and it's a cold world until Garrett gets clipped by Sith Lord Randy for a solo shot in the first, but he's immediately avenged by Mando Tony Rizzo on his Mandalorian bobblehead night. Where's the box? There's the box. Go, Mando. But evil droid Siri rocks Cole again for another Han Solo shot as Garrett's Tampa struggles continue, but he holds the Empire back until Padawan Volpe ties it up with a homer, and he comes back again with his Padawan partner Waldo for two RBI singles to put the Yankees ahead until Josh Lowe strikes back again to put the Rays ahead late. But Mando Rizzo comes back and says this is the way for his second homer on bobblehead night, and the Yankees win 6-5 for the best win of the year until the very next day when the Yankees go down six on a Yandy Diaz grand slam from Nestor Cortez. But the prides of the Yankees farm answer right back as Higgy and Judge two-run shots to cut it to 6-4. And the Yankees put up a 5 spot in the sixth from another Judge bomb to take the lead 7-6. And Waldo comes back again to plate two on a single. The Rays fight back to make it 9-8 and battle off of Wandy in a 35 pitch ninth inning, but it's not enough as the Yankees are the comeback kings again on a Saturday in the Bronx. Yanks decide to take the lead for once in this game as Waldo and Rizzo stay hot with homers of their own in game four, but it bites them to go ahead as the Rays put up a crooked five, including a wall-scraping grand slam from Walls in the fifth. The new-look Fighting Yankees put up another fight as Judge RBI, Volpe homers late cut it to one, but the Rays bullpen finally finishes the job. The Yankees and Rays split a fun four-gamer in the Bronx.
That was inspirational. He thinks the Yankees are pretty good right now. Um, Especially Anthony Rizzo, man. Holy shit. Like his bat has looked rejuvenated since the shift has disappeared. This is the best version of Anthony Rizzo we've seen as a Yankee by far. And the fact that you had him and Judge clicking on all cylinders throughout this series, I think that's why you end up securing two wins out of the four. And the comebackers, like that's how you rejuvenate a fan base, right? Like we haven't seen the Yankees come back from that kind of deficit all season up until that point. So there's a lot to build on here, but where do you want to start?
This was a fun series. I mean, game one, I don't have much to say. It was like a bit of a Pyrrhic victory for the Rays, and that Rasmussen shuts us down, but he goes out for most of the year now. He's at least on a 60-day stint, and where does that bring him back for the playoffs? I think the Rays, that win was their costliest win of the year, their costliest game of the year, probably because they're now really thin on starting pitching and relying on right now at the high end. Glasnow and McClanahan are also injury plagued, super talented pitchers. But they ended up going openers on two, or at least on Friday, they went opener. And their bullpen has looked really shallow because a lot of their guys are getting hurt because they've abused their bullpen for a while. So, uh, talking all over the place now, but game one, I mean, this whole series, I think, is a preview for what the rest of the year is going to look like, because the Yankees have resiliency now. And, Judge didn't have a good game on the Friday night comeback when Rizzo hit the two homers. But I think his intangible is as much valuable as his tangible, and the way he's able to work walks in his mindset. I mean, him just coming up when they're down six and coming up with two homers. Like, I think that's Judge being around and his kind of no nonsense attitude. He never goes too high or too low. That helps that team's fight and their spirit. I think the spirit of this team was really gone before Bader and Judge came back and we were getting beat up. And I think they show that they have the talent to compete and beat the Rays. The Yankees have talent that is right there with the Rays, and their payroll is definitely way above it. So I think that this showed that the Yankees, at least from now on, can be the best team in the AL East. And right now it's a fight of getting to the Rays from there. And I think the Yankees can be the better team from here on out, and the Rays start might propel them to still win the East. But I don't know. I think this was a turn of the tides from the Rays being this untouchable top team in the league to really the Yankees showing what they have and how good they can be.
I mean, so many guys have started stepping up of late where people simply weren't performing early on in the season. And then you have guys like Aaron Hicks has done a full 180 at this point where he was playing his worst baseball in his career. Now he's arguably playing his best baseball in his career. And it's a smaller sample size for sure, but there was definitely a certain feeling of just, all right, we're here and we're here to stay. Even though there were still plenty of injuries that, were plaguing this team, they were still able to keep these, even the two losses, very, very in arm's reach. And if you asked us that 3 weeks ago, if that was going to be the same case, we would say, hell no. We saw what happened when they were down 4-1, 5-1 earlier in the season. It felt insurmountable. Now it feels like they have any given chance, or at any given chance, they can come back and win these games. And that's huge. And I think that Bader is proving that he is a true playoff baseball player. He shines the most in the spotlight. He shines the most when he's playing against better competition. And yes, this Rays team is really, really good. They are probably not as good as what their record indicates. I think that they're going to still be a 90-plus win team ultimately.
And they've gotten worse with the
injuries. They've gotten significantly worse. And also the Yankees have seen their pitching so much at this point because, like you said, they've exhausted their bullpen. The more you see those pitchers, the more accustomed you're going to be to seeing their arsenals. So if the Yankees can get the starter out of the game by the fourth inning, fifth inning consistently, this is going to be a very difficult end of the road for the Rays down the stretch. And the Yankees are only going to get better by getting their reinforcements. Like when we get Sevy back and when we get Rodon back, the next time we see the Rays is what, like later in the summer? So they won't have even seen Rodon as a Yankee yet. They won't have seen a healthy Sevy. So,
or have they even ever? I guess when Rodon played for the White Sox, they would have seen him. But
yeah, and that was still in 2021.
Yeah.
So it's been a bit of time, and you have to assume that he's working diligently right now to even retool a little bit and make sure that his arsenal is not just his body, but his arsenal as well is going to be well equipped to face the AL East, because all of these teams are a challenge right now. I'd say I'm honestly more concerned about facing the Red Sox than I am the Rays at this very moment, because the Yankees have already proven them, and the Orioles, exactly. So there are more teams out there that I'm concerned about, and the fact that what they did in this most recent series against the Blue Jays, they can hold their own against these juggernauts in the AL East. And you can't say that for a lot of teams in the MLB. Like this Yankees team, despite all of their injuries, despite some mismanagement in the bullpen recently, but within the last month or so, they're still clearly able to hold their own and go up against any team in MLB right now. And I'd say they're in a better spot even than the Astros. So gotta like where we're at.
I want to transition from things I like to things I don't like. The Yankees in the 7 games that we've gone over, runs scored 7, 10, 11, 2. That's a fine lull. 6, 9, 7. That's awesome. That is something that was lacking in our previous episodes, something that we were really concerned about, that I think has really changed now. This lineup seems pretty complete, and we still have 2 significant bats, Stanton, and no matter what you consider of Donaldson, when you look at Bowers, Calhoun, those options, depending on who we're playing at DH and how that looks, that's still a big bat that's missing and can deepen our bench at the very least. What I don't like, this Rays series, runs given up, and I want to transition this into talking about Cole and Nestor. And I know that both of them have good comeback outings in the Blue Jays series, but we gave up 8, 5, 8, and 8. in those games against the Rays. Um, Cole had a decent outing on Friday. He gave up those 2 home runs, which we don't like that we're seeing the home runs, but both of them solo shots. But Nestor got lit up on Sunday, and that was the grand slam to Yandy, and it all kind of happened really quick. He could have gotten out of it, and then it would have been 1 run, and obviously the grand slam makes it the crooked number. Um, oh, that was on Saturday rather, and we ended up winning that game. Uh, what do you think of Cole and Nestor of recent kind of falling off form?
I think that Cole, what made him so dynamite early on is that he was challenging guys with his fastball, but he also wasn't missing middle. He was really like killing the top of the zone, like right above the hands, which if you can live there, you're going to get swing and misses, especially with that kind of velocity. Like even in Cole's last start, even though they lost the game, like you said, it was a bounce back win. His velo was up to 99, 98 in the first inning, which is what you want to see out of Cole. The problem is, like a lot of the time recently, he's been challenging guys middle, which is what he did last season. So he's missing in the middle quadrants of the zone, leaving the ball, right at the hip high, right at the waist high strike. And that is going to get hit hard by professional hitters, plain and simple. That could be the 9 hitter, that could be the 1 hitter. He tends to make those mistakes to the bottom of the lineup because he feels like he can challenge them, just blow the ball past them and not have to worry about, pitching to like soft contact and things like that. So I think you see Cole just making a few mistakes over the plate a little bit too much, but I'm not concerned about it personally because I do believe that's something that he can quickly self-correct. And he didn't give up a run to his credit in his most recent start. That being said, Nestor is a little bit iffier just because it seems like he's having issues with the third time through the lineup, I want to say, third or fourth.
Mm-hmm.
So that typically tells me there's something that has to do with his secondary stuff, or maybe he's getting a little bit too gassed with his fastball early on because his fastball has been ticking up to about 94 in the first inning. So that pretty good for Nestor. However, it doesn't seem like he has the same sharpness on his like slider / sweep or whatever he throws. He's just kind of missing with it. And it's a little bit flatter this season. And I think that is ultimately the difference maker because he's not feeling like he can maybe challenge quite as much with his fastball up and in against, I want to say, lefties and then up and away against righties. It just doesn't seem like he has the confidence to spot those pitches right now. So they just need to get to the bottom. If like maybe like I know Talking Yanks alluded to potentially being a pitch clock scenario where he's still like adjusting and maybe he's not feeling like he's prepared to throw a certain pitch or throw to a certain point. He just physically his stamina is not there yet. Maybe that could be the case. Like he did have strep throat. Who knows if he still has his full stamina back? I don't know if that's necessarily it. I think Nestor will tell you he just simply has to pitch better. And that's probably what it has to come down to. But as long as this isn't an injury situation, I think he should be able to get back on track. I trust him to be resourceful because that's the kind of pitcher he is. He's not a guy that just relies on 99 up in the zone. So while I am concerned because he is, as of this moment, the number 2 in the rotation, I still think that he can turn it around relatively quickly.
And what's the good thing taking the pressure off of these pitchers, which I think was an issue earlier in the season, is that, we're talking about these Cole and Nestor starts. Those are the 2 starting pitchers of the games that we won in the Rays series.
Yeah.
And on the flip side of Nestor getting shelled, we shelled Shane McClanahan in that same game. So especially we'll get into this J series, which I think there's a lot to talk about with this J series, but Nestor had a comeback start. I think the opportunity for the starters to be able to have bad games, which is the first time that we've seen it this year, for Cole to be able to have a bad game and the Yankees to still win, to not have their best stuff and to be like, okay, I can refine that, but I don't need to be perfect. I can come back and have a start that's a bit better and get back to the margins. And I think we saw that really come through. I mean, Cole, you have to respect it because even though we're talking about a bad start for Cole, which was 5 innings, 2 runs, and he only went 5 because he had like 40 pitches through 2. And that's, not only did he give up those 2 solo homers, but he grinded through those first 2 innings. And it was just misses to Randy's a freak and he had his barrel somewhere you you're not trying to miss the middle of the zone. You're trying to miss Randy's zone. And then the home run to Siri was middle. Like you said. But to grind back for three like shutdown innings to get through 5 innings, that's what set the Yankees up for a winning scenario there, even despite the low homer late. So I don't know. This is an awesome fight from the Yankees. I know we shouldn't feel this happy in general about a 2-2 split with the Rays, but given where the Yankees have been and where the Rays have been, I'm super content. And I think part of that happiness comes of on what we did to the Jays in the next series.